Hey everyone, I'm back. It's me, Corey. I This is probably what I think our fourth event of the day for virtual Out Raleigh Pride, and I am here with the amazing Erica Porter. She's going to be talking about all things voter related. I'm going to kind of be asking her a couple of questions here and there. And hopefully y'all learned something today, because I think anytime that I tune into a voter related workshop, I learn something new. Which I joked around before this that my first question was going to be, why is it so complicated? But I'm not going to actually ask that question. Yeah, Erica, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Erica Porter. Pronouns are she, her, and I serve on the Wake County Board of Elections. This is my third year on the board, but this is my first presidential election and my first pandemic. So, very interesting times to be in.
Your first pandemic? What?
Yeah, I know. I look so young.
And I guess if people haven't been tuning into the other events today, my name is Corey Hennessy. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Director of Education and Programs at the LGBT Center of Raleigh. Before we get dug into all things voter related, if anyone's interested in any of the other events that we have going on for Out Raleigh Pride, just go to outraleighrpride.org, and there will be registration links and other information that you can get. And then all things related to the center is at lgbtcenterofraleigh.com. So, Erica, would you like to go ahead and start off and just tell us about some basics of voting in this area in North Carolina, and we can go from there.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that has come across our plates so far is the Bipartisan Elections Act. And, for those who are into the details, it's HB 1169. And that was passed to help us with voting during what I call Rona. So what the main change of that really is that if you're going to vote absentee, traditionally you used to have two witnesses to sign your certification to say that that was actually you voting. And for this year only, we only need one witness signature. Or you can do a notary and just not get a witness at all. But if you're going to get a witness, you only need one. And that is the biggest change so far for this year. Do you mean just go into absentee voting? How do you want
to? I know that there's been questions about who can be a witness.
Yes. So, trying to figure out how to make it less complicated. So, if you are someone's immediate relative, right? Like husband, wife, spouse, son, daughter, those type of relatives, you can witness for that person. And the only time it gets a little tricky is if you're an elected official or running for office. So for those types of folks, they cannot witness for people who are in health facilities, right? So like your nursing homes, your hospitals, extended stay type spots, elected officials, candidates, and even hospital staff cannot witness for those folks. And it was a law just to keep people from filling out ballots for people who are incapacitated, basically. So that's when it gets really tricky, is when you're dealing with that population. But other than that, you can witness for and even friends and family is fine. But if you're an officer of the party or an officer in an office, basically, you can't do it.
Gotcha. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk? I think one of the biggest questions on everyone's mind is that how can we vote absentee? How do we vote absentee? And what are the options like during early voting and then up to the day of the election. So.
Okay. So you just mentioned 3 types of voting, and that's what we have here in North Carolina. The first one is going to be your absentee ballot. And some people call it mail-in voting. So if you hear that, it's the same thing here in North Carolina. The second one is going to be your early voting, also known as one-stop early voting, and then in-person voting on election day. So you have 3 opportunities to get your vote in. As far as absentee, I just want everybody to know it's super safe. I know that's a huge issue with folks right now, is how safe is it to mailing your ballot? And it's something we've been doing. So this is nothing new for 2020. Just changed a little bit about how you certify it. So absentee voting happens when you request your ballot. So you can do that 2 ways. Right now, the second one's coming on August 27th. But right now you can print out a form on the website and you need to fill out that form. The big thing after the challenge that happened in Congressional District 9 is that this is a voter initiated process. And what that means is you need to do it for yourself. If you're going to fill out the request for absentee ballot, do not do it for someone else unless they physically cannot write or they can't see. Then that's a whole other issue where you can assist that person, and then there's a place to say that you did assist someone. But in general, you need to be the one that fills out your form. You need to sign your own form, and you need to send your own form back. And that just keeps people from harvesting ballots and just, submitting a bunch of ballots for folks who aren't them. And so when you request that ballot, you fill it out, you need to include your name, your address. There will be some identification information on there. And it's basically the same information you used when you registered. You had to identify yourself somehow when you register. So it could be your driver's license, it could be a state issued ID, or your last 4 digits of your social. So there's going to be something that you need to put on there, and you need to make sure you sign it. And you'll hear me say sign a lot, because that is one of the biggest things that people forget, is to sign, and we can't accept it without that signature. So when you sign it, you can return it back to the Board of Elections, and you can do that a few different ways. So you can put it in the mail, which super safe. And I know there's a lot of people talking about the slow factor here with the mail, and my suggestion is to do it early. If you go ahead and print that out now and get it turned in, you won't have to worry about the postal service being slow, because it's going to make it on time. Other than that, you can do a courier service, you can fax it, you can email it, and then you can hand deliver it as well to the elections office. And so once they get that, they'll process it, and the first ballots will start to be mailed out on September 4th. So any requests that they've gotten up to September 4th will go out in that first mailing. And then after that, they'll mail them out every day. And so the other way that I was speaking about is online, and that's coming on August 27th. So we just had a 2-day convention, and they just explained that one to us. So it'll be online. It'll be the same type of form. The only difference is you'll be signing it, if you have an iPad or something, you'll sign it with your finger, or if you're using your computer, you'll do just a signature with your mouse or something that way. But it'll be the same process, and once they get it, they'll mail it out to you. And so I'll tell you, the last day to be able to request that ballot is October 27th at 5 p.m. After that, you will not be able to request absentee, and you'll need to use one of the other 2 methods of voting.
That's really good to know. I've had a couple people ask me, because they've seen other dates, other places, about when is the last day that we can, and I'm not sure where the confusion is, but I do know that was the one thing that I was like, I know this for a fact that, and it's not until the end of October. So that's really great. I'm excited about the online option. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it'll open it up to a lot of folks, especially people who are weary about contact right now during Rona, So I'm excited too.
That's great.
I like to do things online, so.
Awesome. So I guess you probably answered a lot of the questions about absentee ballots. Is there a way that we know whenever the absentee ballots, after you do fill them out, whenever you send them in, is there a way to find out if they were received?
Yes. So I'll speak on the application first. So for the application, if you do, whenever you turn it in, give them about 7 days or so from when you've dropped it in the mail, just to give it time to get there. But you can call or email about that just to see if they've gotten it. And I know a lot of people have been nervous because that one doesn't send you an automatic, we got your absentee request type message. As far as the ballot, and wait another 7 days for that one too, unless you dropped it off by hand, then it might be a little faster. But there will be a portal on the website where you can log in to check to see that your ballot was received.
Good to know.
So you can check, by the way, but the public will not know that your ballot has been received. And that was also another change recently, was that it's not public knowledge until election day. So you won't be able to see who's requested absentee until election day.
Got it. Okay. That's great to know.
Mm-hmm.
What else should I ask you? Is there anything that I missed about knowing the ins and outs of absentee ballots, since I think that is a big, questionable kind of confusion to a lot of people?
So whenever you get your ballot and you're ready to vote, the witness is certifying that they watched you vote. Now, that you don't want them standing over your shoulder and watching you circle in the names, like they don't need to see that, but they need to be in the same room or presence with you as you're voting. And that's what they're certifying, is that I saw this person fill out this ballot, right? And so that's one thing. And then when your witness fills out the certification, make sure they're writing their name, they're going to write their address, and then they're going to sign it. And then you're going to sign it as well. And I can't stress that enough, because once we start meeting about 5 Tuesdays before the election, we go over every absentee ballot that comes in. So, one of the 5 of us has it in our hand, and we're checking to make sure that those signatures are there. And another reason why I say get it in early is because if you forget to put that signature, we have time to contact you. So they will get back with you and say, hey, Corey, I saw you didn't sign this. Do you want to submit another absentee ballot, or are you going to plan on going to early voting? And it gives us time to make those changes. So the longer you wait to do this, the less time we have to fix an error if it occurs.
Yeah, that's really good. That's great that that's an option. Cool. I know that people get really concerned about doing absentee voting or mail-in voting, which is the same thing, that their vote isn't going to count. So do you want to speak on that?
So yes, it counts. I see it, I watch it happen, and it counts. So like I said, we go through them, and then we certify those absentee ballots on election day. So earlier in the day, we meet as a board, and that's when we tabulate all those votes. And so whenever the polls close, I don't know if you've noticed that there's a number that's automatically pops up as to the totals for each candidate. And in those numbers are going to be your absentee and your early voting. So those numbers are available as soon as the polls close. And a lot of folks think that they won't see that unless we have to add them in at the end, to figure out the winner. But no, those are the numbers that we have at the start. So they count, and I watch it happen.
Great. Mm-hmm. See, there you have it. That's good to know. That's great. So what if I request an absentee ballot, but then I decide that I want to do in-person voting?
That's a great question. A lot of people have been asking that because right now people are worried about Rona, but you never know what's going to happen, right? So some people are like, I'm going to request my ballot, and then maybe it's going to be okay for me, or I'll feel more safe to go and vote. And you can do that. Just don't send in the ballot. If you change your mind and you decide you want to go, don't mail it in. You'll just, just shred it and keep it. We don't automatically assume that that's how you're going to vote until the polls close on election day. So you can even wait until election day to vote if you don't want to do your absentee. Oh, I forgot to say, some people have called out that another way you can turn in your absentee ballot, and this is true, is during early voting. But I do not recommend that because you're going to have to stand in the same line that everyone else stands in. And by the time you get up to the check-in person, you might as well vote. So if it's, a 2-hour long line, you have to stand in there and wait because they need to check off your name and take your name off the voter roll so you don't show up on election day and be able to vote again. So there's a whole process. And if you're going to wait in that line, you might as well just go an early vote. So if you're worried about getting it turned in, especially if it's close to the deadline, I say take it to the post office and walk it into the post office and make sure that they postmark it, because that postmark on 5 p.m. election day is the biggest deal that folks will deal with about getting their absentee in time. Or take it to the Board of Elections office. If you're worried about it in time, if it's a late ballot, then either get it postmarked or walk it in.
Great, yeah. Where is the Board of Elections office?
It's off of New Hope Road. It's up New Hope and New Bern.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so that was something I was going to ask as well, because I did hear that there was going to be an option where you could take it in. But the last I heard was that they were thinking about making a separate line, but it sounds like that's not going to happen. So that's good clarification to know. Awesome. So what happens if I'm not registered to vote?
Yeah, so you have from now until October 9th if you want to do traditional registration, and that's with the form that you can get on the website. Which I have not said, it's Ready to Vote. So READYTO vote.com. It's a website we own, and it takes you directly to the Wake County Board of Elections with every possible thing you would need. And it's a very helpful website. So if you have not registered, you can go there, print out the form. You can do it at the DMV, which they now have an online portal that they opened up because of Rona. So you can do it that way, or you can come to early voting. And that's why they call it one-stop early voting. So you can register and vote at the same time with that process. And if you're going to do that, you need to bring an ID if you have it. This is one of the only times you're going to be required to have an ID. As of now, I'm speaking as of right now, with you never know with laws and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that is one of the only times you're going to need your ID is if you're registering, because they need to capture information. You can also bring a, like a utility bill, something with the address. What they're trying to prove is that you live in the address that you're saying you live in. So if you could bring that and you'll register and you'll get to vote. And if you're a first-time voter, and that's usually, high school students and folks like that, when you do vote on election day, if they have not been able to prove your residence, you'll have to show your ID. So those are the only 2 times you'll need to show your ID is your first time voter and when you register right now.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So I think you mentioned this, but when is early voting?
Early voting runs from October 15th through October 31st.
Great.
And so the times are a little different depending on what day you go. Right now, it's weekdays. The times are 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And on Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And Sunday, 1 to 6 p.m. And where it gets a little confusing is we keep it open a little longer on the 31st, which is the last Saturday. We keep it open from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. to give you that last chance to get in line.
Awesome. And during early voting specifically, you can vote at any location, right? Any location in the county.
So our board unanimously approved, which is a major thing, when you got 3 on one side, 2 on the other. We all came together and we approved 20 locations. So if you went to readytovote.com, you'll see the map. And so we've tried to cover all that we could of Wake County with large spaces. So we have room for folks to social distance and, you know, good parking lots. So we really worked hard to make sure that these 20 were the best spots for folks to vote early. And so you can go to any one of those. But on election day, you need to go to your precinct, and that's on your voter registration card, or you can look it up on the website. But before that, go wherever.
Awesome. Was there anything that I missed that you want to talk about?
Just how folks can get involved. One of the big things is we're recruiting people to be election officials. So for a traditional election, we usually use about 2,500 folks to work that day. And so with Rona, the population of our volunteers they're very older, you know, like they're retirees, they're folks that, you know, some of them have pre-existing conditions and they're on that list of folks that should not be around the public. And so we're asking people, if you are healthy and you feel comfortable, to sign up. It's volunteer, but you will get a stipend. It's a little stipend, but, you know, we hope you're there to, you know, because you love voting and you want people to be out. But we will give you a little bit of cash. And so you can sign up on there. And once everyone signed up, they're going to start releasing jobs and letting folks know what their assigned job is. I want to say early September, maybe even late August. And so they'll start doing training for folks there. But this is a great opportunity to learn about how voting works and to watch and see how safe it is, you know, so you can go and tell people. There's also an opportunity for high school students who are going to be 18 by the election to work as an election official. So there's a special link whenever you go to the website where they can fill that out and get permission from their principal and be a part of the process from the beginning. And so I think it's a really cool opportunity. And, you know, you can be a part of history. We're gonna have a lot of votes. We're already at 463% of an increase of absentee ballot requests as compared to 2016. So I think the votes will be there.
That's great. That's really great to hear. This is it's definitely an important election. I mean, as is every election, but I think that we want to make sure that people get the information, which is why we wanted to have this, because we want to make sure that people are still voting at this time, even though this pandemic is still going on. So thank you, Erica, for giving us, answering my questions and providing some knowledge. Is there any last things that you want to talk about?
Just do it early. If you're going to vote absentee, do it now. Get your information in now.
Yes.
And then recruit your friends. You know, we want to have one of the highest turnouts we can get, and people are really worried about it this year. So, you know, if we can get those numbers up and if you can help, then let's do it.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for tuning in.